Today is Monday the 5th of November. We are about to head up to Newcastle. And hiding in here, and he hates getting on camera, is Classic Dom! I got him on camera! So yeah, we're gonna go see will.i.am. Love going through London with a massive case during rush hour. Right, we are now on the train. We're heading to Newcastle. We did an interview with Mark Mullen from Atom Bank a couple of months ago. Really, really good interview. Really interesting interview actually. Of course, Atom Bank has will.i.am as their creative ambassador. I think he's on the board, and there's a few sort of similar things. I didn't know much about will.i.am and done a little bit of research. He's kind of cool. Not because he's a musician, but because the money he's made from doing music rather than just spending it on himself. He's actually done a lot of, he's got a very wide net, and he's talking of self-driving cars, he's talking of hardware. He was the first person to have a music track streamed on Mars. We're heading actually to the Newcastle University for the Urban Sciences building, and it is an event about launching a new project called FinTrust Project. Attending the event will be Atom's strategic board advisor, will.i.am, who will provide a unique perspective on the importance of the issue. So it's going to be, Good morning, ladies. Just got out of the Uber and we are here at the Eater Urban. Yeah, we're going to head in, hopefully get some stuff set up, and yeah, should be good. That there is an Apple II with a 5¼ inch floppy drive. That's so cool. Here inside the university now. Dom is getting a kit set up. These are some of the guys who are going to be filming. That's 3-point lighting, gaffer tape on the floor for health and safety, and just getting ready now. We've had a couple of bits and bobs, but yeah, good. Team 11FS has arrived. Wait a minute, that's Leda, and oh my god, it's her. Yeah. Just getting ready for the session to start. The 3 guys are going to be just there. What are these guys here? Students from the university? Definitely didn't want to be on camera then.
I'm interested in this space because it's fascinating. It's the most creative space to be in.
The project is called FinTrust, and it is indeed about trust, and particularly we want to research trust in the financial industry and what now is called fintech.
Enriching our lives. Technology is changing the relationships between us and brands, between us as individuals, between brands themselves.
Up here. This is Team BBC. They're doing a wee bit. Fresh session has just finished. And up there is the good old group photographs. There's Classic Don, waving the logo about. That's what we like, Don. Quite intense and interesting thing. You were the first guy to have a song streamed on Mars. Setting up a new, colony on Mars, setting up a bunch of people on there, and there needs to be a banking system. We don't have any of the legacy we have here. We don't have any of the bias. We don't have any of the pre-notions. What would you want to make sure happens with it? How would you want to make sure it's fair? Would you want to make sure it's fair?
Well, yeah, it has to be. Of course, has to be fair. So if you're going to go to a place, a new colony, start fresh, I would ask, is there money?
Yeah, there's money.
Is it a different type of barter system like it used to be? Like, money hasn't always been forever. Back then, you farmed, someone had something else, and you traded.
Yeah.
And when something didn't have value, let's go to India, well, the idea of zero came into play. And because of that region, now zero are in our mathematical equation. And it wasn't always. So if you got to start from scratch, maybe there is no money. Maybe there's intelligence.
Data.
To have intelligence, you need data. Maybe you work really hard to know more. And that is what you exchange.
And would that way then be include everyone, so there's no exclusion financially?
Well, if you're going to a different planet, then the whole thing is for the species to survive. And we have a whole different, like, survivor of the fittest thing that we have to do as a collective. And so bartering and money and greed, that shouldn't be the purpose on a new colony. Surviving is the purpose. It means you have to figure out vegetation, you have to figure out like how to feed people, you have to figure out like how to, you know, hygienes and cleaning, disease, healing people. So you're starting off fresh, and fresh is fresh, straight from zero, the principle of life. And there is no money, there's no banks. It's just survival and joy.
Hi, and welcome to Newcastle University. I'm Leda Glyptis, a Fintech Insider with Fintech Finance, speaking to a bunch of people from the university, Atom Bank, and the one and only will.i.am about AI, trust, and financial inclusion. Today you had a pretty big announcement, report on FinTrust. Tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so we've been mulling over this question for quite a little while. I think all banks should do. I'm expecting that most of them do. I don't know how many of them are actually really putting their heart and soul behind it. And we decided that actually we needed a little bit of external expertise and perspective. And so we've put together a project with Newcastle's psychology department and its business school and the computer science department, which is where we're hosted today, to look at what does trust mean. Trust between people and institutions, and banks in particular. Trust between fintechs, trust between banks and fintechs, and trust between the technology that we all carry around in our pockets these days and the money that we hold dearly.
It's one of those concepts that people throw around and use quite liberally without necessarily always meaning the same thing. It sounds like it will be a very interesting project, one definitely to watch and one we intend to keep an eye on. But as you were launching today, you shared that there will be quite a lot of sharing going on as part of this exercise. This is something that will not just be
this isn't by atom for atom and we're going to sort of stick a big trademark on it, no way. This is publicly funded. So the £1.2 million that sits behind the project and which employs the researchers comes from the UK government science budget. Atom's been very lucky, very good at deploying that. We've got 3 or 4 other big publicly funded projects going on at the moment. But this one here in particular is to produce a toolkit. And it's produce a toolkit which is there for consumers to be able to use as well as businesses. It's meant to show what good might look like without being prejudicial, without giving a sense that the inherent biases which we think are there already in AI aren't biasing our own perspective. And it's there to give people a sense, well, actually, you know, I could push back at some of this. I could give better information. I could give information that builds trust more transparently. And I could hold that information more tightly as well. So there's a whole raft of ways in which that can be done. But I think if it doesn't start with what does the social science tell us, what does the philosophy tell us, what does the ethics tell us, and then we should design on that basis, we kind of coming out the wrong way around. And
you're taking a very big question head on. On the back of this, we might have policy changes, legislation changes, potentially.
I guess if you pitch these things well, then policy professionals are always looking for something which is genuinely consumer-centric, but which has industrial underpinning as well. And that's what we hope to bring. Because there's no point in us looking at options for change without those options for change being potentially commercially successful. And commercial success is actually something which I think is going to have to rely on building trust. Trust is easy to destroy, reputation is easy to destroy, and that trust relationship is something which actually, if you want to live in this world of regulated financial services, you've got to be demonstrate, not day by day, but minute by minute, second by second.
Are you expecting an education drive coming with it? You're absolutely right. Those who are watching closely expect that trust to be demonstrated minute by minute. There is a growing community of practitioners who are keeping an eye on us, consumers very rightly waking up to how important this is, but as we heard in the presentations earlier, the financial literacy road is long and the people still to go on it, numerous. Is there an education component that we will be expecting to see more of?
Absolutely, and I think you could parallel that with like the super complaint that's coming at the moment on inertia in the banking system, inertia in utilities, which is all about how do I use my information more accurately in a more timely way to get a better deal. So you can reduce it down to those sort of, you can save X amount, you can get the better mortgage deal, why are you stuck with that provider type questions. But I think it goes a little deeper than that. I think it's all about why should you believe that artificial intelligence using that bit of proprietary AI is actually giving you a result which you could replicate. Yeah. A lot of AI, don't say it too loudly, the people who designed it don't know why it's coming up with the answers that it's coming up.
Very true, very true.
So if we're saying that that's actually a genuine doubt, then why should we believe that it's giving us the right answer?
We're just doing the last interview here, rather than doubling up. We've got Leda and Michael there. This guy is the computer scientist talking all things technical.
We were here for the announcement of the FinTrust Project kicking off, a uniquely interdisciplinary project around the nature of trust and how that impacts financial services. Tell us a little bit about the importance of having all the different disciplines coming together for this one.
Yeah, so I'm a computer scientist myself, and I'm very techie in a way. But we want to look at trust in the financial industry, in fintech and in financial services, like mostly through mobile apps and web browsers. And trust is almost by definition a human element. It has a lot to do with how society thinks about things. It has to do with things like branding. It almost touches on marketing sometimes. So it's everywhere from social sciences to psychology to then also some technical elements that we also cover in the project. So I don't think you can actually research trust without spanning the disciplines.
It's reassuring to see that this particular piece of work is not cutting corners, because we actually agree with you. Tell us how Atom Bank is involved in this effort.
So Atom Bank has been involved with our research for several years. In fact, all the way from the beginning of Atom Bank, we were involved with them, sometimes talking with them about cybersecurity issues, mostly technology issues. That relationship has only gotten stronger. Both at Durham University and at Newcastle University, we're working now on projects with Atom, joint projects between our two universities and Atom, and now this particular project here then in Newcastle, crossing business school and computing. And so for the Northeast, Atom obviously is a very important story. Employs some of our smartest people, our best people, our most creative people. And so that relationship is very important for both parties. And so that has always been there, and it's only getting better. And we try to help Atom. At the same time, I must say, we are a government-funded research project, and of course we are a university. The outputs that we want to achieve go beyond helping Atom. And so this should be useful for other companies as well.
Understood, and it was very clearly stated in today's presentation that this is not by Atom and for Atom, but a much wider good. So early days, but what do you expect the outcome of this research to be? Do you expect it to be policy? Do you expect it to be a change in consumer behaviors or something entirely different?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we sort of expect to better understand how trust develops when there's automation to a very large extent involved. And so there's sort of these fundamental insights, mostly from a social science psychology perspective, that we want to uncover, and that is our academic duty. Then we definitely want to influence policy. We think, or I certainly think, that it's a real shame how policymakers have been reactive in both the financial services industry as well as in the technology industry. And first calamities have to happen, and then governance start to come to the fore. Now that's a little bit unavoidable, perhaps, that commerce drives progress much quicker than governance does, but we should learn from lessons during the mortgage crisis and then the Cambridge Analytica crisis and all the crises about data being breached. We should learn from that and try to be more proactive now that we put finance and technology together in the fintech industry. So definitely we want to influence policymakers. And then I think at the end of the day, we want to help customers get better services. And when we were talking with Will, he puts that very strongly. He says at some point, we have to own our data. We have to be responsible for it, and we have to get the best service out of it. So we hope that the service that we're going to build as Atom Bank and as other industries are going to be much more customer focused and actually help individuals.
Of all the millions of things that approach you to become involved in your work as an investor, as an entrepreneur, what was it about a bank in the north of England that caught your eye?
It was a pitch from Mr. At, which is, I call him Mr. At. It's Anthony Thompson. He says, we want to change what the word bank means to people, so much that we're even considering not even calling it a bank. And that, to me, was like, wow. And we're going to do that even in its principle. When you think of a bank, you think of a branch. And we're not going to have a branch. Your bank is in your phone, in your pocket, in your hand. I was like, wow. And so I started asking all these questions. Then he says, and you unlock it with your face. And this was way before the iPhone had facial recognition. This time, 2013, is when I met Mr. At. And Atom Bank was nowhere near being launched yet. He just came to me and said, hey, we're going to do this, and when we do this, we want you to be involved. Mr. At was the reason. Like, so as an investor, you invest in people. And because if you invest in the idea, and the idea is hard to execute, and something happens, and then the person that had the idea is weak in the knees, and the idea is never going to see the light of day. If you invest in a person, and that person has the tenacity and the wherewithal to be able to, like, you know, overcome adversaries or, you know, maneuver through obstacles, Mr. At's one of those guys. And Atom Bank is like his baby, and it's an amazing vision. I like what it means for people in the community.
What does your involvement entail as a strategic advisor?
Honesty, transparency, candidness, and then every time I leave our sessions, to go out in the world and hunt and find new perspectives to bring back to our meetings and our sessions to advise.
That's a fantastic advisor. Everyone wants one of those. But this is one of a portfolio of companies, and you have spent time on and invested in artificial intelligence as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your vision of how artificial intelligence is going to change the world?
There's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it from like the dystopian future perspective, and there's a lot of that in film, and there's a lot of that in journalism. And then from the builder perspective, it's optimistic AI. Then you have the other side where there's no governance. And because there's no governance, maybe number one will happen. But faith in humanity and government, that won't happen. Because governance will come into play. If you're building AI, the only governance is your conscience. So we are building AI for humanity. We're building AI to, you know, turn the workforce into a super workforce, not AI to replace jobs, to amplify jobs. We are building AI to empower people with their own data.
And can I pick on something you said in your very interesting talk earlier about how people are very protective of their identity, but give their data away like it doesn't matter. And that's a tension that you brought to life very, very interestingly earlier. Talk to us about your concept of how identity and data are actually marrying in the future.
Your data is really who you are. So my name is William Adams. That's what I was born as. Professionally, in popular culture, you know me as will.i.am. I'm 43 years old. My birthday is March 15th. My driver's license is XYZ. My passport is LMNOP. My bank account is, you know, QURST. Those numbers and letters, that's not me. Who I really am is who I know, where I've been, where I went, the words I use when I spell, what I like, what I don't like, the apps I have, you know, how much I use my phone, my search results, my purchases. Collecting all that data will tell you damn near to the day that I might not be here anymore. That's how freaking advanced these algorithms are. That's how powerful data is. Data is so powerful that the companies that collect data are more powerful than the people that collect money. The people that store data have more money than the people that store everyone's money.
That is true. That is very true.
That's the first time in human history where something for free is more powerful than something you pay for. But that's not forever. Because to do that, they had to take something away from people. And that is knowledge, people's whereabouts, their interests, their psychological makeup, their facial expressions, the emotions, the things that affect them when you look on your phone and there's that camera there, uh-oh. But how we got here is just ignorance. How we got here was, access and no one ever reading the contracts. But that's not forever. And in the near future, your identity and your data will be married, right? And you have like multiple account instances where, I go online and I see people name me, and their freaking handle is my face. My cousin was like, Willie, I followed you on Instagram. I'm like, wait. What account was it? It's Willie Adams. Like, that's not me. What are you talking about? I knew everything about you. Like, whoa, what? Here is when it all is gonna hit the fan. Someone's gonna call you on the phone, and it's gonna say, hey, yo, I was with you yesterday at that event. And you're gonna say, what? I don't remember you. And it's gonna recite to you everything you said to someone, and you're gonna remember it. And then you're gonna trust this person that called you on the phone. To come to find out that was an AI that hacked into your geolocation on your phone, hacked into your microphone and your camera, heard your conversations, and you thought you were talking to a person, but you weren't. That hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen soon, because that's how far we've come with technology. And that's when the restrictions are going to be put and clamped on. Because right now you could have multiple accounts. No one is on the internet based on who they truly are. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because it's not safe. And the moment where you can't distinguish a person from a machine on a phone call, that could be scary. And you're going to want to have these regulations put in place. For example, no matter how much money you have, you can't go out and buy a stealth bomber. It's faster, right? You can't, right? You can't be like, yo, I want to get to New York in an hour. I got $5 billion in the bank. I want to buy a stealth bomber. Bill Gates can't buy a stealth bomber just to fly around, because there's regulations put in place, but not for AI.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And as we're both coming to the end of our time, but also talking about the future a lot, talking about a highly challenging and changing environment, talk to us about your school.
So in this future that I paint or see, the only folks that are going to be left behind are the folks that are not a part of the conversation now. And so I try my best to, gather a whole bunch of inner city kids to think and dream down this path and educate themselves, discipline themselves with these skill sets of robotics, computer science, AI, machine learning at an early age of 9. And some of them do really well, surprisingly. And it's hard to compete against popular culture, because popular culture does a really, really good job numbing and dumbing down society. And that's a struggle that I fight with in my old field versus my new field. And government doesn't do a good enough job to make sure that the kids are educated to the speed of the investment for AI. So I have my philanthropy, my schools that I do, and then I have my company where I raise money. And it's easier to raise money for AI than it is to get donations to educate people. And I see that every year. Every year I'm like, wow, how much money did we raise this year for AI? What? How much money did people donate for the schools? Wow. Well, thank God somebody did. I see that firsthand. And then the other side, I see the things that people sing about, make movies about, what they celebrate. We celebrate ignorance, we celebrate intoxication, we celebrate woman bashing. It's sad. And if that dystopian future comes to life, if AI was to, you know, all it has to do is just crawl today's internet. You know,
and learn all the worst things.
And that's a sad thing. Like, we have this thing like, wow, it's the doom of humanity, but we do the stupidest shit on smart devices. And if AI was to learn humanity's behavior, all we have to do is change our behavior, invest better, and take care of our own better.
Right, goodbye Newcastle there. Yeah.
Alright guys,
Cool, thanks Emma. Really interesting day. I've been thinking a lot about data and AI. I think I stumped Will with my question, which was kind of cool. And afterwards he actually said to me, I'm going to think about that, you got me with that. I can't do a good impression. But overall, long day, busy day. So glad this interview's finally happened because it's been a long time coming. Thank you to Newcastle University and Atom Bank for inviting us along, and good fun.